I love that you call this Fathom and Friends and you're just by yourself. This like no one. I was expecting like a whole crew or
Well, I
produce
like to
some
think the
friends.
guests are my friends, but
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not what's going on. Well, it's funny you bring up the birthday cake thing. That was in Portland, but that club, Harvey's, which is now under new ownership, and I think is open again. I'm not exactly sure. Downtown
Love that
Portland
you
right
just
now is.
lead with the name of the club too. Like
Oh
there is
yeah.
no.
Oh, I will always name Harvey's Comedy Club in Portland, owned by
I've heard
Barry.
horrible things about this
When
place.
it was really fun and it was the polar opposite of doing helium at that time, but it was like what I liked about it was less it was a good workout because it was fewer like major comedy nerds which like helium would bring a lot of those out, which of course we love them. We love anybody who goes to like a show once a week at the club because they just want to see everyone. Like, yeah, so grateful for you guys. But Harvey's was just regular people, and it was people from the outskirts too. So Portland's a very white town. We all know that. The shows were pretty diverse because people would drive 30, 45 minutes to go to Harvey's because the tickets were free usually. Um, but the cake story is only one of so many. But that was probably one of my first times working there. And I had heard a lot about Barry, and then he was like pretty sexist. And, it's at some point, it's just like, well, he fucking owns the club. Like, you're not even surprised anymore. You just have to kind of be on guard and try to be funny. And then if it's shitty, just be like, well, I guess I'm never working there again. But it's so common. It's like laughable. So I kind of had been warned. I have a rapport with this guy for whatever reason. I don't know. To put it in his own words, he was like, you're one of the only women that like gives me this much shit. And I'm like, I have to stand up for myself. um, but there was a birthday party and the girl was turning 21, and so they brought like probably 20 people for free because Harvey's had a phone bank. I think they still do. They literally worked from just a list of phone numbers and a bunch of people in an office that would call you and be like, hey, do you want to bring 20 friends for free to Harvey's on Saturday? Or if you have a special event, a birthday, whatever, like we got you. It was just like an entirely papered room, basically. Even though sometimes they had really good headliners that fully deserved to have people buy tickets. Barry never believed that though. Like he didn't believe any comedian was good, and he would always be like, I don't want any ego in my club. That was like his big thing. Like I don't want to headline anyone who thinks
I've
that
heard
they
about
like.
this guy before that like he was like my promotion is so good it doesn't matter who I get in there I can book out the room.
Yeah, because he doesn't care about the quality of the show or the experience. He just wanted to fill seats and make money on food and beverage. So whatever. A lot of club owners are like that. But this 21st birthday party is there. It's a huge group, and I am featuring. I'm pretty sure it was like maybe one of my first times featuring. And then I get off stage, and Barry's like, I'm gonna need you to take the cake out to the birthday table. And I was like, oh, like as a fun, like, isn't this cool that one of the comedians brought out the cake? And he was like, no, I'm just kind of short on servers at the moment, and I need you to actually like cut and serve it. And I was like, Barry, I don't work here. And he's like, I just really need you to help me out with this. And I said to him, to his face, you would never ask one of the dudes to do this. And he was like, yeah, they wouldn't do it right. Like, I know that you'll know how to cut and serve a cake. Like, what's the problem? You're being like really difficult. And I said no. And I was like, Barry, if this is the thing that makes you decide you're not going to work me anymore, that's fine. Cause this is fucking ridiculous. I'm not serving the cake. So I said no. And then later that same night, in the middle of the headliner set, that fucking girl got carried out on a stretcher because they overserved her by a lot on her 21st birthday because Harvey's never cut anybody off. Like, this is actually a real crime in Oregon, so I probably shouldn't be calling them out this way, but under new ownership. And she probably also ate an edible that was a little bit too strong for her birthday, and she lost her mind. She got very sick, passed out, and they did not stop the show. Barry would never stop a show for anything. So the stretcher came in, loaded her up, loaded her back out. The headliner never acknowledged it because it was Harvey's. And this shit happened so many times. Most headliners that have worked Harvey's a lot will tell you that they've seen a stretcher take someone out multiple times in their career. And the show just fucking went on. And half her birthday party stayed and enjoyed the rest of the show and kept drinking. I've seen several table fires at Harvey's. Some intentional, some not, but they have real candles. So they overserve people, don't police the room, and then they have fire on every table. So one of the fires was I was on stage, I was hosting, and this very sweet lady in the front just had like a leather purse with like some fringe on it or something, and she put it on the table, and so it caught fire from the candle. And she was very embarrassed, and her friends helped her put it out or whatever. That was accidental. But the second fire I saw was very much intentional, because this huge table that was super drunk, they'd been rowdy the entire show. No one ever quieted them. Like, they never stopped talking. They thought it would be fun to get a round of fireball shots and then dip napkins in the fireball and then put them on the candles in the middle of the show. So Dwight Slade is on stage and he sees just several small fires at this rowdy table. And Dwight is a very regimented comedian. He does not do crowd work, really. He does not stray from his act. He crushes. He's a pro. But he's never like breaking character, really. And then he even was like, does anyone work here? Is anyone? Oh, and then they were using like beer or other alcohol of some kind to try to put out the fires. Just insane. And Dwight's like screaming from the stage, like, Barry, get your fucking shit together. This table's on fire. No one cares. And he was so like distraught. Like, I don't know. The end of that weekend, Dwight was like, I don't know why I'm doing this anymore, man. Like, it doesn't make me happy. No one respects me. Like, he was so depressed. I'm like, I think you just need to not work at Harvey's anymore, Dwight. Like, that would probably be step number one. Because he's proven this over and over that he just does not care at all. And if you try to talk to Barry about this shit and be like, hey, his staff didn't like him either because he was shitty to them and he had super high turnover. So it's like, none of his staff was going to be like, I already have to deal with these shitty customers, my terrible boss. I'm not going to put out literal fires. Like, this is not in my job description. And he wouldn't even, Barry, he wouldn't even comp you like a water bottle. Like, he was so cheap. We had to pay for all our drinks, food, until, at some point, like, the bartender, who was really sweet, would be like, just come to me. Like, I got you, Yeah, that place is nutty. Very, very crazy.
God damn. That was awesome, though. For like inside comedy shit, I love hearing that stuff. Like, it's good they're under new ownership.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if the new owners really knew what they were getting themselves into, but yeah, it's still kicking. I think the upside for new comics to like experiences like that is just when you get into a really good club or a good show where you feel respected, taken care of, the crowds are quiet and nice, and the staff is awesome. Like, you just appreciate it so much more when you see the alternative. And that's why I've dated several comedy club managers in my life. There's something about that job, if you do it really well, where you're like, including my boyfriend, who, we were together for 7 years, but like, that's how we fell in love, because it's this like, it's a very giving kind of position. You're just like, I'm here to make sure that everything works and I'm just a vessel for like making sure we have a good comedy show. And if you do that really well, it's like a very specific personality type that apparently I'm very attracted to. um, because it's someone who's like, I'm not about being in the spotlight for myself. I really just, it's like a facilitator, you know, it's almost like a teacher or coach. It's like, how can I help you succeed? Like, that's a very kind of attractive quality when it's done well. But so many club managers don't do it well. And there's so many places I show up, you know, all over the country where I walk in and I'm like, is anyone here? I don't know where the green room is. You know, some guy's checking my ID and I'm like, oh, that's my face on the poster. I'm working here this weekend. And like, no one greets you, no one picked you up. It's just like, so when you get that, like, it's like a hospitality job, basically, you know. And when you ever meet, when you're traveling, like a great hotel manager who's got like business cards and shit, and he's like, "Come by, I'll comp you a glass of wine," and it's like a very, yeah, it's such a specific job and personality type. But I love that, probably because it's also somewhere within me. Like I love to host a party and take care of people and whatever. So
Yeah, my
it's
mom's that way too, where they're just certain people that they love to do that. Like I mean, and it's a fucking job. Like I think a big part of it is being able to like put your ego aside and be like, this isn't about me in this moment. Like this is about making sure everything else gets taken care of. But like, I don't think a lot of those people get the recognition they deserve in that
totally.
moment. But like, you remember it in those situations where it's really bad, and you
Oh
know
yeah.
they matter. They do.
And, you know, for new comics, I always say, like, be nice to the club staff, man. Yeah, appreciate them, tip people well, because a lot of these folks want to continue working in comedy. And, you know, like Adam has, and he's now, you know, working for like, I mean, he has a fancy Hollywood job in comedy. And he's like, I mean, he remembers 8 years ago when some headliner treated him like shit. And maybe that guy's name comes across the desk for like a major role in something. And that just, I don't know, maybe the email goes away somehow because he's like, this guy's a prick. Like, and, you know, there were so many times at Helium in Portland too, where comics wouldn't get on the mic over and over after signing up every week and they weren't sure why. And then it would come out that like, well, because every time you get a drink at the bar, you tip nothing. And like we all talk, you know, like the
Yeah.
staff is here to help you succeed, but they're also working